In this tutorial, we are using Visual Basic to create a karaoke machine. That is, an application which prints the lyrics for songs when they are chosen by the user. We have used top-down processing in order to create this. So we started by declaring a variable to hold the song number. This will be what the user chooses. We have set a constant to have a maximum of 4 songs, and that's because later on you can see that we have chosen 4 songs to create. And then submain effectively goes through 3 processes. It displays some instructions. It uses a function called getSongChoice to allow the user to type a number in, and only a number. And then it takes that number and it uses showSong to take that number and choose which song to display. Now if I start and play this code, you'll see that display instructions is just putting up a title and the 4 options. GetSongChoice is asking me to type in a number from 1 to 4. If I type in hello, which is not a number, then it just repeats until I do put a number in. If I put a number that is not in the right range, if I put something like 6, again it keeps asking until I put something in. And if I put in something like 3, which is from 1 to 4, then we would expect it to print now playing song number 3. As you can see, I have a problem with my code here, and it's telling me there is an invalid cast. The reason for this is that we are trying to join a string to a double, and that is happening here at song number. So this is a common occurrence in your code. You might have to take any numbers and use dot to string in order to have them printed out on screen. So if I try this again, hello doesn't work, 6 doesn't work, 3 then says now playing song number 3. And that is all the program is doing at the moment. So console read key true is the line at the end of the program that stopped it closing the window until we'd had a chance to read things. So what I'm going to do now is to replace these stubs with some actual working code. Our first song is BonJovi, You Give Love a Bad Name, and I have a copy of the lyrics a little further down here. So here we can see, shot through the heart, and you're to blame, you give love a bad name, and so on. And there's some repetition that can be printed out here using some for next loops. So I'm going to take a copy of this, which I will then use. I'm going to uncomment this function here, or this procedure. Now, LoveBadName does not yet exist. So when I point at it and show potential fixes, it will then offer to generate a method for me. It will create a routine with the name LoveBadName. And this is what I want to do. And this is part of the top-down processing approach to writing code. So LoveBadName now has a definition. I could right-click on it and say go to definition as a quick way to find where the code is. And you can see here it is. It has throw new not implemented exception. Now basically this line here will always be created when you generate methods. So you have to replace them with some actual working code. So I'm going to start off just with a console write line to give it a title. So console write line, you give love a bad name, BonJovi, and then maybe just for neatness, console.writeLine, and we'll put a series of dashes below that just to underline it. Okay, now what I want to do now is to create code that generates a copy of the lyrics, but I want to do it in an efficient way using some loops and possibly some decision code. If I just paste what I'm looking for here, some of this will just have to be printed out as is. And I reckon probably the first few lines of this, that should probably happen with. So I'm going to console.writeLine. And I'm going to put shot through the heart plus VBCRLF. Now VBCRLF is carriage return line feed, so that'll leave a gap. And then I can add on, and if I delete, we'll get and you're to blame. Because it's write line, that will also then put a carriage return line feed at the end of that. And then we need you give love a bad name. I think that looks fairly unique as well. So no point in trying to include that in my loop. And then again, VBCRLF plus, and I'm going to nudge this bit up here as well. Okay, now you can see that the rest of this is all using repetition. You give love a bad name, you give love a bad name, and so on. Every one of these lines starts with you give love. So that's looking like a good place to start with our loop. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times where the line starts with you give love. So I'm going to put in here for, and I'm going to say for love equals 1 to 9. And when I press enter, it automatically puts a next in. So it knows it's going to close up the loop, and everything between these is going to be repeated 9 times. So I want to console write line here. Actually, I don't want a console write line. I want to console.write. And the reason I want to write is because I don't want it to automatically move on to the next line. I want to be able to add something onto the end of some of these lines. So console write, and then you give love. Maybe put a space in there as well. And then what we want to do is if we look at it, if it's line 1, we want to add a bad name on the end. So I can say if love equals 1, then, and notice when I press then and press enter, it puts an end if in automatically. And I can say if love equals 1, then console write and in fact I could say console write line so that it automatically moves on to the next line, and then it's a bad name. Okay, so that's line 1 taken care of. Now, for the rest of the cases, you can see that it's either just going to press enter or it's going to add bad name in brackets on the end. So in actual fact, this if situation is probably not the best way to tackle this. The best way to tackle this really is to use a select. So I'm going to say here, select. Now if I press tab twice, tab, it fills in the structure of a select case. I'm going to base this on the variable love. And we know that when it's case 1, we want to then say console write line, a bad name, bad name. I'm going to put that in there at case 1. For case 2, 4, 6, and 8, so case 2, 4, 6, 8, we simply want to console write line so that it finishes the line. So nothing information, no extra information put in there, just finish the line. And for the other ones, case else, we want to add bad name in brackets. So case else, console.writeLine, brackets, bad name. Okay, so let's see if we have indeed got what we were looking for then. If I press play, and if I choose song number 1, press enter. Now playing song number 1, you give love a bad name, shot through the heart and you're to blame, you give love a bad name, bad name. I play my part and you're to play your game, you give love a bad name, bad name. You give love a bad name. So that is all looking like it's correct. So that's the first of the songs. I will make some more chapters in which we try and tackle some of the other songs.